Hi there, I'm Brother Merrill, and this is Sunshine for the Soul Inspirational Stories. I appreciate you listening. We are trying to build our listener base, so if you have friends or family who need inspiration in their life, tell them about our channel. We get a lot of our stories from our listeners, and they are very inspirational. I hope you enjoy today's stories. They're all temple miracles that have taken place in our day and age. God's work is rolling forth, and temples are beginning to spot the earth. It's a wonderful work to be part of. I love serving in the temple. I know most of my listeners do as well. If you have inspirational stories that you feel would inspire others, please share them with the email on the screen, or you can put them in the comment section. Thank you. I also want to thank our sponsor, Cardio Miracle, and at the end of the video, I will share a few experiences that others have had with the product. I love it. It has really energized my life and allowed me to do things that I thought I was finished with. I really recommend it highly. You can get it at cardiomiracle.com/sunshine. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoy these stories. Nathan Tolman shared these experiences and insights. He said, "We have many inspirational events in our lives that not only inspire us, they should be shared with others to inspire and strengthen their faith. We may also have sacred experiences that are meant only for us. My father worked in the Provo temple for almost 50 years. Many of the sacred experiences he had there, he would not talk about. At one time, through study and prayer, he had a profound understanding revealed to him. Weeks later, while waiting for a veil assignment to begin, he attempted to share his recent experience with some of his fellow temple workers. But as he began to tell the other workers of his experience, his ability to speak was suddenly taken from him for several minutes. This led him to realize that the experience he was about to share was sacred and meant only for him. To his dying day, he was ever faithful in keeping it to himself. Even his own children never learned what the experience was. In 2009, as Dad began his temple shift, he began to have a powerful uneasiness and fatigue settle over him. He felt as if he was becoming weaker by the minute. After finishing an officiating assignment, he felt weak and sweaty. He retired to an empty room in the basement, closed the door, and collapsed. He had no strength. He could not think straight, and he became feverish. He felt his body beginning to shut down and his consciousness slipping away. He felt he was about to die alone in the study room in the Provo temple. Suddenly, he felt an unseen hand pressed against his chest, and warmth began to spread throughout his body. The warmth seemed to emanate from the hand on his chest. After a few moments, the hand lifted and was gone. He sat up, still alone in the room, now feeling completely restored. His debilitating feverish symptoms had disappeared. His energy returned in full. He got up and he returned to his assigned duties for the rest of his shift, feeling revived and energized. During the next few days, he came to realize he had fallen victim to the swine flu, which was rampant at the time. In his advanced age, he was apparently extremely vulnerable to the condition. Dad considered this experience sacred and was always careful with whom he shared this story. He considered his divine healing in the Provo temple one of the many sacred things that happened to him there. He said he had no doubt that he was on the verge of death, and an unseen being completely and instantly removed his illness. Dad passed away just a couple of months ago at age 90. Before he passed, I introduced him to your channel, and he enjoyed the stories you share very much. Thank you for sharing that. Mrs. Watcher shared, "My paternal grandmother passed away when I was about 18. She had been a faithful Lutheran her whole life and had no interest in any other religion. Almost a year after she died, While I was kneeling in prayer in my room, I suddenly felt a presence near me. I stopped praying and looked around me, and though I could not see her, I recognized her presence, and I knew my grandmother was there with me. I said, "Grandma?" An overwhelming feeling of love washed over me. I knew she was thrilled that I could feel her near me. In my mind, I heard her voice tell me she had come to remind me to do her temple work as soon as I was able. My sister and I were Grandma's only female descendants who were members of the church. I knew it was up to us to get Grandma's proxy temple work done. I promised her I wouldn't forget, and as I gave her this assurance, I felt her embrace envelop me. Then she was gone. My sister did her baptisms, and as soon as I received my own ordinances, I went back to the temple for her. Later, after my husband and I were married, we returned to the temple and were sealed on behalf of my paternal grandparents. Thanks for that story, Mrs. Watcher. Carol Townsend wrote, "I'm 84. At the age of 81, I felt deeply compelled to search for the truth. When I first read the Missionary's literature, I knew I had found it. I was baptized when I was 82 years old. Soon after becoming a member, I had a powerful desire to investigate my family's genealogy. As I investigated my family records, I was surprised to find that most of my direct ancestors had already received their temple ordinances by proxy 3 years earlier, with the exception of my father, mother, and deceased brother. My extended family's work had been done at the exact same time that I had felt compelled to search for the truth and had found the gospel. I feel my family members urged and directed me in my search, leading me to the restored truth of the church. Now I go to the temple regularly, and I'm finishing my father, mother, and brother's work. The hearts of the fathers are being turned to the children, and the children to the fathers, just as Malachi prophesied. I look forward to my entire family being united again on the other side of the veil." Thank you, sister. President Russell M. Nelson announced 200 temples while he was our prophet. The scope of such a work is really hard to fathom. Each building is specifically designed and refined by inspired members of the architectural and temple departments of the church. Every component, from the architectural structure to the interior design, and even wall and furniture decor, is specifically detailed, all before a contractor is found. A firm that will give the utmost attention to detail and quality is required. The contractor agrees to perform the work with complete adherence to the terms, quality, and specific details outlined in the plans before work is started. Anybody who's ever worked in converting a conceptual plan to an actual finished product knows that the details can be consuming. The Pareto principle, or law of 80-20, more commonly referred to as the devil is in the details, is learned theoretically in engineering classes, but is reinforced by experience during every construction process. As the Saratoga Springs Temple was planned, the nearby waters of Utah Lake and Saratoga Hot Springs were reflected in the theme of the building. One of the details that represented this theme is the beautiful blue stone that lines the grand staircase. Designing a beautiful blue accent stone was very easy for the interior designers. However, finding the blue stone proved to be more difficult than anyone could imagine. The beautiful blue stone they envisioned had been used in the Mesa Temple almost 100 years earlier. After the contract was awarded to Jacobson Construction Company, project managers, teams of engineers, and purchasing managers began compiling the necessary components for the project. However, they soon discovered that the blue stone specified in the plans was nowhere to be found. Worldwide searches yielded no results. It seemed that there was no blue stone of this type available anywhere in the world. Jacobson had proved a reliable builder for the church projects for decades. They had solved hundreds of issues working with the church's architectural department and working out bugs during these successful projects. So they went to the church and explained that the blue stone did not exist. Unfortunately, the theme of blue had already been set in motion. Leaded windows with blue highlights were being made, along with other accessories. The temple department told Jacobson that the Mesa Temple, which was built in 1927, included this blue stone, so the stone did exist. The church instructed Jacobson to keep looking. There seemed little chance that the quarry or the supplier was still even in existence, but Jacobson's people didn't give up. They began to search records of stone contractors and suppliers in the Arizona area. They had no success. While weighed down with this quandary, the contractor went to his ward temple night. Plagued with this problem, he presented it to the Lord. After the ward's endowment session was over, the contractor sat in the celestial room and pled with the Lord for guidance on what he should do to find this blue stone. As he prayed, the name of an old stone supplier he'd not heard in years came to his mind. The man had retired long ago. Not knowing if he was even still alive, Jacobson's people searched for him. He had worked when he was young with the builders of the Mesa Temple and might have a connection or know of the quarry where the blue stone could be found. Miraculously, they located the man. He was very old and dying of cancer. He had been an exclusive dealer of the blue stone and sold a lot of it in the 60s. He'd made a lot of money as a distributor for the quarry, but when the demand for the blue stone died off, he was left with a great deal of it in his company's inventory. Not knowing why, he held on to it. He kept it for over 50 years. Even when he sold his stone-supplied business, he had a feeling to keep the blue stone. He had kept the heavy crates all his life and never knew why. He just kept them. I'll bet his wife probably told him to get rid of them more than a few times. But decades after selling his stone business, when Jacobson's people contacted him, this good man learned why he had been prompted to keep the crates of blue stone for all those decades. The Lord intended this stone to be used in the Saratoga Springs temple. The Lord had prompted this old stone broker to keep the blue stone before some of the designers of the Saratoga temple were even born. When Jacobson's people went to his yard, they were thrilled to see this prize. It was the same stone that had been used in the Mesa temple. It was exactly what had been specified for the Saratoga Springs temple. The 50-year-old inventory of blue stone he had kept was just enough to line the edges of the Saratoga Springs temple grand staircase, just as it was specified in the temple plans. Another great experience that took place with a different temple happened to Richard Gaeske. He played a special role in beautifying the grounds of the Houston, Texas temple. One night, Richard dreamed of gardens adorning an unknown temple. He was a member of the church and owned a small landscaping nursery in Houston. The dream was so vivid, Richard said, I awoke and wrote a letter to the first presidency of the church describing my unusual dream of a beautiful temple with lovely gardens in special arrangements. I felt the Lord wanted me to begin growing plants at my nursery for this unknown temple. So that's what he did. 6 months before his dream, Richard had unexpectedly acquired 100 four-year-old oak trees. For reasons he could not explain, he planted the trees in larger than the usual containers, And after the dream, he designated the finest of the oaks and the best of his other plant stock to be used exclusively for a future temple's grounds. He made every effort to ensure that his temple stocks were of uncommon excellence. As time passed, his temple plants grew in size, quality, and value. He had many opportunities to sell the trees to fill other orders, but remained firm in his decision. Those plants were for the temple. When the Houston temple was announced, Richard had prepared the plants for its exteriors. In retrospect, Richard recognizes he and his nursery business were blessed during this time. Before his dream, his nursery was on 6 acres. Within a year, he acquired a prosperous 40-acre nursery and a 50-acre tree farm. 3 years after his dream, the plant stocks Richard nurtured for the Lord's house were finally planted on the grounds of the Houston, Texas temple. His majestic trees now stand at the front of the temple's entryway, and his flowers provide the perfect contrasting colors against its exterior. Teresa Sigler wrote, "I experienced a miracle about 15 years ago while serving in the St. George Temple. I had worked diligently to compile family names for several families in my lines and had come to perform proxy ordinances for them. I had not been able to find the parents of one of the families, but had decided to proceed with the folks I did have. When we arrived at the sealing office of the St. George Temple, a worker asked me if I would mind helping another patron do some sealings which they had brought to the temple that day. I agreed, and as I walked into the sealing room, I asked if they would mind assisting me in the sealing ordinances I had brought. They readily agreed, and as we started, I recognized one of the names the other couple had brought. It seemed we had both brought different members of the same families. As we checked, we realized that they had the parents I was unable to find, and I had the children and grandchildren of those same parents. There are no coincidences. I know this was a miracle, orchestrated from beyond the veil. Miraculously, people unknown to one another had come to the same temple on the same day at exactly the same time to perform proxy ordinances for the same family. Each of us had brought the missing parts of the other's family tree. The sacred gathering of Israel for those beyond the veil is being directed by the Lord, and we have the great opportunity to be tools in this miraculous work. Thank you. My friend Ron Argyle shared this story. While living in Europe, Carla had been baptized as a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints and enthusiastically told everyone at school she was a member of the church. Most of Carla's classmates made fun of her, but one classmate, Bridget, became her friend. Bridget had been taught to be respectful of other religions, though she was active in her own church. As Carla and Bridget's friendship deepened, Bridget even attended some church youth activities with Carla. Bridget and Carla were close friends all through their school years, until at the age of 17, Bridget tragically passed away. 2 months after her friend's death, Carla woke up in the middle of the night and saw Bridget standing at the foot of her bed. Bridget did not speak, which made Carla wonder why she had appeared to her. Bridget appeared to Carla 2 more times during the next couple of years. Bridget never spoke. She just stood at the foot of Carla's bed. Carla often pondered why she would be visited by her deceased friend. As her life progressed, Carla moved to the United States and was eventually married in the Salt Lake Temple. Right after Carla was endowed, Bridget's visitations became more frequent, almost regular. Carla and her husband had planned a trip to go to the temple in Salt Lake City, and the week before they left, Bridget appeared to Carla 3 nights in a row. On the 3rd night, Carla woke her husband and told him about Bridget's visitations. She told him how they had become friends in Europe, and that since Bridget's passing, she had appeared to her many times, clarifying that she never spoke. She just stood looking at Carla. As they discussed these visitations, they both felt Bridget had been taught the gospel in the spirit world and had accepted it. Now she needed to be baptized, and she knew that Carla could do this work for her. Carla and her husband searched and prayed to obtain Bridget's records. Their efforts had not been successful, but as they continued, they were inspired to contact a researcher who was able to obtain a copy of Bridget's death certificate. Carla and her husband were not able to return to the temple for some time, so with this documentation, Carla submitted Bridget's name to the temple, hoping that her proxy work could be accomplished as soon as possible. Weeks after submitting Bridget's name to the temple, Carla awoke again one night to see Bridget standing at the foot of her bed again. This time, she was dressed in a white gown, and behind her appeared the baptismal room of the temple. The next morning, when Carla got her mail, she had received a notice from the temple department telling her that Bridget's proxy, baptism, and confirmation had been completed. Thank you for that story. Randall Stuckey shared this experience. 9 months after my cousin Randy completed his mission, he was hit and killed while riding his motorcycle. A few months after his death, his mother, my Aunt Helen, took the beehives from her ward to the Los Angeles temple to do baptisms for the dead. Her daughter Tricia was among the group. As Aunt Helen watched her daughter step into the font, the temple's computer system froze for a short time. Aunt Helen didn't really think anything of it in that moment, but after dropping all the beehives off at their homes, Tricia said, "Mom, do you remember when I stepped down into the water of the baptismal font? Well, something weird happened to me as I stood in the font. During the pause after the computer went down, I saw Randy's spirit standing with us in the font next to the baptizer. While I looked at him, he said, 'Tricia, it's very important that they get this sister's name right. I have taught her the gospel in the spirit world.'" Tricia said she just stared in disbelief. Then the computer started back up again, and she was baptized for 15 people. Randy had stayed by her side the whole time, but when she came up out of the water after the 15th baptism, he was gone. It's amazing to me how many tender experiences have taken place in the baptismal areas of the temple. There are scores of stories of individuals from the beginning of temples in the latter days until today, of people seeing the individuals that are there having the work done for them, and in this case, someone that was supervising the group. Thanks for sharing that story. At the groundbreaking of the Billings, Montana temple in March of 1998, a heavy winter storm took everyone by surprise. 4,800 people from 12 states and 2 Canadian provinces braved freezing temperatures, fog, and snow for the occasion. Everyone shivered as a 700-member youth choir sang, "Now let us rejoice." The spring snow had caught the majority of the attendees off guard, and without enough snow shovels, inverted music stands were used to remove the snow and ice so the program could take place. The weather worsened throughout the groundbreaking service. Later, church members learned that the spring snowstorm was actually a blessing in disguise. A large anti-LDS group from northern Wyoming had planned to disrupt the groundbreaking proceedings, but not one protester was able to reach the temple site because of the hazardous weather and travel conditions. The groundbreaking participants were cold and uncomfortable, but the weather helped the work of the Lord roll on without the disruption of an irreverent group of demonstrators. My last story is from my friend Irene. She shared this experience. I fondly remember my last time in the Laie Temple before we moved to Ashland, Oregon in 1994. The youth of our ward were assigned to do baptisms for the dead. Each youth had 25 names. When my 4 children and I arrived at the temple, they went downstairs and I went upstairs to dress for the endowment session. I'd just gotten ready when a worker came and asked if I would come assist in the baptistry. So, for the rest of the day, I handed out clothing to the youth and then stayed and assisted in the baptistry, mopping floors, doing whatever they needed. By the time we finished, it was too late for me to do an endowment session. I went upstairs to get dressed, and as I pulled my dress over my head, I said in my mind, "Oh, I wish I could have done just one more endowment session here." They were live back then and really wonderful. As I looked up, there was a big group of spirit people. They stood together and with one voice communicated to my mind, "Oh, thank you for having the children do our work." This happened in a microsecond. I felt deep gratitude for the blessing of having such a special experience. The stone cut out of the mountain, foretold by Daniel, is rolling forth. It will fill the whole earth. Our sacred temples will cover the land, allowing us to prepare for the millennial reign of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. God loves all of his children on both sides of the veil, and it is very important for each of us to receive his saving ordinances on this earth. The 200 temples announced by President Nelson and hundreds more will be built, despite the raging and opposition of Satan and his followers. We are blessed to live at a time when we can witness the hastening of God's work and the heightened resistance of the adversary. Who is on the Lord's side? We must each identify as a true follower of Jesus Christ and his gospel covenants. If you identify as one of God's followers, I'm sure you have felt his love in your heart. There are many people who don't recognize these feelings, and I would encourage everyone to please take time and know that the Lord loves them. Even if you already know, it's wonderful to have that reassurance. The Lord is anxious to tell you that he loves you, that he wants you to be happy. If you doubt that, I would encourage you to try an experiment. Think about your life. Think about what you'd like to accomplish with your time on earth, and then think about the things you're grateful for. Ponder the good things in your life. Develop a feeling in your heart of gratitude. Think of the things that are right in your life. And then in that feeling, kneel down. And in the name of Jesus Christ, say, "God, do you love me?" And I promise you, you will feel his love pour into your heart. This is how the Lord speaks to us. It's not with a loud, thundering voice in our ears. It's in a quiet, peaceful feeling in our heart. And as you latch onto that feeling and hold fast to it, that voice will grow and become stronger and more recognizable to you. And you will come to know that God truly loves you. I appreciate you watching today. I wanted to tell you a little about my experience with Cardio Miracle. My wife and I have been on it for about 5 months now, and I am amazed at the mental clarity it gives me. It gives me strength and endurance that I haven't had in years. I'm able to accomplish things and then feel fine afterwards. I would encourage anyone who hasn't tried Cardio Miracle to give it a try. You will be glad you did. Here's what some of the other people that have tried it have had happen. Cheryl Lynn said, "Our journey on Cardio Miracle started over a month ago for both my husband and I. And wow, what a difference in our bodies. Both of our energy levels are way up, and my husband's knee pain is gone. We both feel better than we felt in years. We love it. Everyone over 60 should be on Cardio Miracle." Frank said, "I have had a heart issue in the past. When I added Cardio Miracle to my daily routine, I started a healthier diet and lost weight, and it has helped me tremendously. I feel better than I have in years. Everyone should be taking this product. Lonnie said, I had high blood pressure. After 2 months on Cardio Miracle, my blood pressure is steady at 118/66. My son-in-law is a doctor and had an AFib condition. He was going to have surgery to correct it. He does not put any weight in natural treatments. And I did an end run around his attitude and went through his wife, my daughter. After she got him on Cardio Miracle, his AFib stopped, and he no longer needs surgery. Cardio Miracle is great stuff. I had similar experiences with several of these things. The pain from my ruptured disc and my arthritis is almost completely gone. I'm able to function without pain, which has not happened in a long time in my life. And my blood pressure is down to normal levels without all of the prescriptions that I had to take before. So if you have chronic pain in your life, if you have found your energy levels have dropped, or that your mental clarity isn't what it used to be, give Cardio Miracle a try. Go to cardiomiracle.com/sunshine, and you will not believe what it does for you, and you'll never quit taking it. Give it a try. You have nothing to lose and a lot to gain. Thank you. Again, if you have stories that you feel might inspire our listeners, please share it with us. You can send it to this email address on the screen, or you could share it in the comment sections. A lot of people enjoy reading those things. I love it. I love to know that the Lord is with his children and that he loves them and he watches over them. Thanks for watching today. You can subscribe here, and if you enjoyed this story, you'll probably enjoy this one. And you can watch all of Sunshine for the Soul, inspirational stories right here. Thank you.